Hi guys, I hope you guys are out there. We will start shortly. All right guys, it's 1:31. I hope you guys are joining. I am so excited. This is our first episode of Tech Bytes. So let me introduce myself. Let me do the right thing here. I'm Tara Walker. I am a senior technical evangelist at AWS. And hopefully if you're joining today, you are excited as I am to kick off this new show, Tech Bytes. So what do tech evangelists do? I always have to explain that. I'm sure if you joined Randall on this show, you kind of know. But pretty much we're software engineers that also like to talk with you and code. So that's kind of the gist of our job. What we're going to talk about today, what Tech Bytes will be all about, will be building something and building it live. And that's what's great. And not only are we going to build it live, we're going to have a show that's going to build upon each other. So today we're going to talk about the architecture of building a .NET chatbot using AWS services, and we're going to use Lex and other things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But regarding the show, what we're going to do here is really simple. It's going to be a 30 minutes. It's just going to be bytes. Of course, we had to spell it the right computer science way. But we're going to build, each show will build upon each other, and you will code and build with me. And we're going to add different things to the show in building the chatbot so that you also can do it and then maybe enhance it for your own chatbot. What'll happen after the show, and this is what's really cool I think about this, is not only will you see the recording, but I'm going to post the code of whatever we've done thus far in GitHub. So if you missed the session, you're looking at the recording or you're coding along with me and you kind of like, hey, I missed that part. What was she saying? No worries. The code will be out on the GitHub and we'll post the code for each episode as we continue to build this bot that we're building. This is series 1 and we're talking about .NET chatbots. We'll have different series that we're going to cover different things. We might talk about a little serverless and build together and build upon each other. Some IoT, some AI, who knows what we'll come up with next. But again, this series will be a constant 30-minute session of us talking about it. All right, you got what this show is. Enough of all that. Let's get into, okay, what we're going to build. So what I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to just switch my screen really quickly to my desktop, and I am going to show the architecture that we're going to build, and we're going to talk about this really quickly. So we're going to build an online chatbot. We kind of talked about that. We're going to use .NET Core, and we're going to use some core services from AWS to do this. Now, what's cool about what we're going to do here is we're going to deploy this with a CI/CD pipeline. So let's talk about what this architecture looks like. The deployment will happen on EC2. So if a user comes in, they're going to say, hey, I want to order flowers or whatever chatbot you want to build. So what's great about this is we're going to build a ASP.NET MVC core application using these services where you can switch out 3 configuration rules and have a totally different chatbot running. So this is what we're going to build today. The Amazon EC2 chatbot that you see, the instance that you see, is going to be a web app server instance. We're going to deploy to that using a CI/CD pipeline. What the EC2 instance is going to do, it first is going to go get your credentials using Amazon Cognito. So let's just switch over real quickly to talk about what the services will happen. So I am going to, or we're going to do it, so it's not just me. We're going to have an architecture in which we are going to have EC2. EC2 is going to then get credentials via Cognito. If you're not familiar with Amazon Cognito is, Amazon Cognito allows you to get a dynamic token, a temporary use token, to give you access to Amazon Web Services without embedding your access key and your secret key. I hope none of you guys are doing that. I just know you're not, so no worries about that. I just know you're not doing that. And it gives you the ability to have this token that'll get created that you then can have permissions to do this. So let me transition to, now you can see my slide. Great. So if you're looking at the slide here, this is the architecture or the technology that we're going to use for this chatbot. So if you look here, I talked about using Lex, I talked about using Lambda, I talked about using Cognito. Again, we're going to use EC2 for that. We are going to use some core technologies that I hope you all know about. We have the AWS SDK for .NET. We have the AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio. And then to get that great CI/CD pipeline going that you're going to build, that's going to be fantastic, and you can deploy your code really quickly, we're going to use AWS developer tools. And the tools are Code Pipeline, Code Build, Code Deploy. And if you're brand new to creating a CI/CD pipeline, we're also going to introduce AWS CodeStar. Now, I would not be a good AWS technologist if I left out code for CloudFormation. So we're also going to show you how to use CloudFormation to build all of these things, your CI/CD pipeline, grab your Lambda function that you're going to build. Lambda is your serverless function in the cloud. We're going to show you how to do that as well. So that's what the current architecture is. That's what we have right now. Let's say you didn't want to build this with me. I hope you will. We have a .NET build your own bot tutorial out there right now. So I'm going to switch my screen over so that you can see this right now. So if you want to go out and build this right now, we have a tutorial that Nikki, who is moderating with me on the chat bot right now, has helped build with me. So this is really a cool thing that you get started. But with this chat bot, which is great, and you can get started today for hours, the thing that we're going to do will be a little bit different. So of course, we're going to build this chatbot that you can see and you can get ahead of me of it. But we're going to add some things that you're not going to see in that tutorial for this. We're going to add Amazon Lex response cards. We're going to make sure that with Lex, we use Poly so you can actually use your voice and talk back and forth. We're going to add DynamoDB, where we can query different things about the different flowers or whatever chatbot you decide to build there, but we'll start with the flowers. Query different information about different flowers. Let that build the response card dynamically. We're also going to show you how to export this chatbot, the intents and the slots, to actually have a complementary thing going on with Alexa. And hopefully my Alexa won't go off. She didn't hear me. Good. And we're going to show you how to export this chatbot in Lex to Amazon Alexa. Say that quietly so she won't go out. And you can have now Amazon Lex web application running, as well as have an application running for your chatbot on the web. So you can have both of them. And I think that's really cool to show. All right. And so now let's get into more of the tech on this. So let me switch my slides over one more time. Let's go to my desktop display. So I'll kill this. And now we are in Visual Studio. So what I'm going to do really quickly for this first one is actually run it. So you can see that this is something that's going to be running. And what I have running is very similar to the .NET tutorial that I showed you on the web that you can build now. The other things that we're going to talk about have not been built yet. We're going to build them together. So let me do the first thing is run this. I will click here and we're going to run this in Visual Studio. Now, while I'm running this, I also want to mention to you something that's also really cool as it starts to build. You can try this out prior to this chatbot as well. So we're showing this, and this is, going on here, and it's about to deploy, and that's fantastic. But what you can do right now, before you even see this, is you can actually run this. We have a try it before you build it kind of situation. So let me switch over to that while that is building. No need to waste time there. It built really quickly. Okay, well, we'll show you this one, and then I'll show you where you can actually go run this and play with it. So I'll blow this up for you. It's a little small. There we go. Now that's blown up, this is the chatbot running for the code you see. This is what we're going to build together. So I'm just going to enter in here, order flowers, right? That's what we're building initially. And so what will happen, again, this is running in a Visual Studio. It's going to go out to Lex. First, it authenticates and makes sure that, hey, you can actually do this. I know who you are. It develops a specific session for your Lexbot, your chatbot, and says, okay, I know what she wants to do. She wants to order flowers, and then it gives me a response back. And so here it says, what kind of flowers do I want to order? Well, let's see. We were just in January. We were just in February, so let's do roses, right? We just finished having Valentine's Day, so let's do roses. And so once I type in and hit enter what the rose is, you're going to see that it's going to say a couple of different things, like, when do you want these roses to be picked up? You can look on the screen and see it asks me, when do I want to pick it up? Now, this is great. This is me running in Visual Studio, and this is what we're actually going to build, and this is what we're going to also enhance. So instead of just having the verbiage and the words coming back, we're going to build this so that you can verbally talk about it. Let me also show you one more thing about this that I think is pretty cool, and I want to make sure that you can build this as well. For this, like I said, we're going to obviously build this live. But what also is cool about this, let me switch my screen over. You can try this before you build it, right? Before you build it with me. We have this actually running live publicly, running on EC2 out there for you to play with and try. So this is the chatbot running live on an EC2 instance that is public and available for you to try now. Again, it won't have all the nuances of what we will build live with you guys, but it is something you can try now. So if I go in, let me switch my screen so you can see this. All right, so you see this now, we're on EC2. You can see here that it says the .NET chatbot running on EC2. It is no longer on my Visual Studio that's running on my other screen. We're actually now in the chatbot that is running live that you guys can try. And if you are, that URL is kind of weird. How am I going to remember that? No worries. If you look at this tutorial here, the link that says awsamazon.com/.net build a bot, and you will scroll down here and you will see it will say try it before you build it. So this link is available to you there. No need to try to figure out that long link that you see. So I'm going to just enter in here, same thing, order flowers, order flower, not understanding you. Oh, here's another cool thing that we're going to do. This is a base one where I have order flowers, and you saw I didn't understand what I wanted to do. We're going to teach this how to learn. So you put in, when we build this, a bunch of different intents that if I say order flowers, or I want to order flowers, or various things, that it actually then will interpret what I mean, even if I say something different than what I have noted in the intent. And so you see here, I said order flower, didn't get me. It now understands order flowers. When we're building this together, one of the enhancements and things we're going to make is to teach our chatbot, if you will, or use great AI technology that's the basis of Amazon Lex, to have our chatbot learn what utterances should be there. So if I say flower versus flowers, go ahead and take that. And it asks me again, what kind of flowers do I want to build here? Right now, I have this set to build 3 different types of flowers, just like the tutorial. What we will do when we enhance this with DynamoDB is we're going to add a table of a ton of different flowers. And so they'll have a choice. Those response card we can build can dynamically say, well, what type of flowers do you want, blooming or whatever? We'll get creative. I want your feedback on what you want to build there. So whatever you say, we will build. This is going to be a live session for you. What day do you want the tulips chatbot to be picked up? Well, you'll see, I will say I want it to be picked up, I don't know, Monday, because who knows? And so immediately, based upon the slot value that we have, or the type of slot we used, it knew that Monday meant that that was March 5th. It knew that that's what I meant. And so it asked, okay, well, what time? We also are using what we call a Lambda code hook here that we're going to dynamically build. And this code hook that we're going to build, by the way, is going to be very different than the one you see not on the bot tutorial, but the one you see if you go to the Amazon Lex documentation. The order flowers tutorial that you see there builds a Lambda code hook using Node and using Python. Fantastic languages. I'm language agnostic, but we're talking about .NET Core here. So we will build a Lambda function, our code hook. We're going to build it and enhance it to talk to DynamoDB and other things, but we're going to use .NET core instead of using those other languages. I'm going to say I want to pick it up at 5 p.m. Well, you'll see when it comes back, it says, wait, we close at 5. You can't pick this up at 5. And so in our Lambda function that we currently have running, we actually have some intel in there that says, when they come back with a time, interpret that and say, if it's not between this range, do something. We're going to add more things like this with this. Your business hours are for 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's what it says. Can you specify a time during that range? Okay, well, I will push it and say, okay, fine. I'll pick it up at 4:30 p.m. instead. And it says, okay, your tulips will be ready for pickup at 4:30 p.m. and it'll cost $30. So we have some intelligence in the Lambda function that's currently running that then takes, based upon your type of flowers, what's the actual cost. Additionally, when we enhance this, if you build it with the tutorial, it doesn't have this in it. But as we enhance this, as we build along and go along for our chatbot that we're going to build together, we're going to make a table that has these different prices in it, maybe different restrictions in it as far as, yes, you ordered tulips. You know, we can say how many orders of tulips do you want. Right now, we're just saying you're ordering tulips. We can really add some other things there. Does this sound okay? So we're going to do a confirmation. Sure, it sounds okay. Yes, and we give them back that my order will be picked up. And so this will be some of the things we'll build. We'll also talk about in this session, we're going to talk about how do you take this chatbot? Yes, we're going to talk about how to export it out to your Echo with an Alexa skill. But what we're additionally going to talk about is how do you make this chatbot work in Slack or Facebook Messenger? There are a lot of mediums out there for chatbots, and we want to make sure you can take care of them all. All right. So with that, you see kind of this chatbot working. This is the one in EC2. This is the one you can try it before you build it, which is fantastic. Let's go back really quickly to my desktop. And like I said, you see that I have this chatbot running over here. This is the one that's running in Visual Studio. But what I want to do with this chatbot running in Visual Studio, that's great. I want to show you one thing here just to talk about really quickly. And we'll do this in detail when we go over the chatbot. But I want to talk about something really in detail here that is going to enable us to do this. So this is my test pool and my test configuration. And you'll see that what I have in here is I'm giving it the pool ID that I want to use. And what's great about that is you see no access key, you see no security key there. This Cognito pool key is my test. So even if you use it, the only thing you'll be able to do is possibly, because I have it really locked down to only work for my bot, is if you had the access to my specific bot, run it. So with your Cognito pool, I can get very granular with permissions, and I have here this configuration page that you see. We're going to use this. So if I change this right now to change the bot name and change the bot alias and change the region, I can have a completely different bot functioning and running in this chatbot tutorial without changing a line of code. So we're going to use some of the features of ASP.NET Core, and using those features, what we're going to do there is put these different criteria in the Cognito identity pool, the region you want to run in, the aliases you want to run in, and your actually bot name. And without, again, changing a line of code, what you will have there is the ability to run another chatbot. And so we're going to talk about how that works. It's using dependency injection and MVC. And so you can, you'll be able to do various things there. So that's the crux, if you will, of the code. The last thing I will talk about today, and then I'm going to take your questions, because this show is an introductory one. It's all about what you want to build and the things you want us to enhance it for. So let me go back out, change my screen really quickly, and just go back out to show you some things here about the technologies. So I'm going to open up go back to let's go back to the browser. That's what we'll go back to. All right, hopefully you see the browser back again. Let me give you the prereqs for doing this, because I would be remiss if I'm telling you we're going to do all this and I didn't tell you the prereqs. Now you can of course get all of these prereqs off of the build a bot tutorial, or some of the prereqs of the build bot tutorial here. I'll scroll down just to kind of let you know how this is laid out. It'll talk about going through it. It'll talk about the GitHub repo and the things of that nature. So you can get the prereqs from there. But I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page about what those prereqs are. So I'm going to do something and open up that console. Opening up the console is good. The console is your friend. So a couple of things that I want to make sure that you have going on. The first thing, obviously, is make sure you have an AWS account. Now, I'm not really worried about you guys out there in Twitch land. I know you already have one. But just in case you guys are new to the show, new to coding with us, I want to make sure that you have the ability to start fresh in the next session, the next episode. Again, these are 30 minutes. Bytes will build upon each other. And we're going to hit the ground running with building with Lex and getting in the console and building this custom one. And so I want to make sure that the first thing you know that will be essential for you to have while you're doing this is to make sure you have an AWS account. Now, again, you guys out there in Twitch land, I know you have this. You're raring to go. But this is being recorded, so maybe someone will stumble upon it and want to geek out with us and not have it. So the first thing that I want you guys to make sure you have is an AWS account. You guys have that. We're good. The second thing I want to make sure that you take advantage of, because we are building with .NET Core. And again, I am language agnostic, but quite frankly, I like C#. C# is a cool language for me. Let's go to the actual .NET page. So we have a Windows and .NET developer page, and you'll see we'll have a couple of different things for you to use here. We have the AWS, getting those acronyms all goofed up here. We have the AWS SDK for .NET. Whether you're on a Mac or you're on a Windows machine, this will be obviously what you need to make sure when we start to build the ASP.NET Core application, even using Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, or even if you're using another IDE, that's absolutely fine. You're going to need to make sure you have the SDK downloaded and installed. For you guys who do have Visual Studio like I have running, you want to install the ASP, I'm saying that a lot, right? You want to install the AWS toolkit for Visual Studio. I'm going to show that in a minute. And it integrates then the AWS experience, so you can look at your servers. You can actually have some of the libraries, the setup, or for the blueprints of Lambda and things of that nature already in Visual Studio and raring for you to go to build AWS solutions. Not just this one. You can build ones that, let's say you want to do something on EC2, or Dynamo is the thing you're working in, or you want to do something completely serverless. We'll also talk about that. Instead of running on EC2, you want to do it completely serverless. We're going to talk about all those great things. But if you want to do it from your IDE, without getting out of your IDE, having that experience of staying in your IDE where we all love staying with our code, the AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio is where you need to be. Now, let's say you're using Visual Studio Core, and you're not going to be using the toolkit in that way. No worries. The great .NET SDK team they've thought about you. There is obviously the AWS CLI, but what they've done, which I think is fantastic, and we're going to talk about this in episode 3, how to install this, how to make sure you're up and running with it. They've actually built with the .NET CLI, Lambda and AWS extensions so that you can still build certain solutions like this ASP.NET one from the command line and have it ready for you to use in Visual Studio Core. So we didn't leave you out. No worries. We have it covered no matter what OS you're running and what platform you're running. That's also for you Linux guys as well. Can't leave you out. Finally, what we're going to talk about with this, obviously we're going to use a CI/CD pipeline to deploy to EC2 and deploy like you saw us running. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how easy it would be to deploy this using Visual Studio or even using the command line and deploy directly your solution to Elastic Beanstalk. So we'll get into that as well. So the prereqs here for this session, I need you to make sure you have the ASP SDK for .NET installed. If you don't, we're going to talk about this in depth in episode 3. But if you have it already installed, it'll make your life easier as we go through some of this. We're going to talk about how you install the AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio and what that looks like. If you have that installed already, that'll be great. We're going to do it with you, but that'll make your life easier. And then something that we will also get into, touch upon briefly, is something that got released that is fantastic, and I don't know if you guys know about it, so I have to tell you, is the AWS tools for Visual Studio Team Services. So let's say, yeah, you're not really into using Git. No worries. You are a .NET Core person and you like using VSTS. Well, we have tools that were released for using AWS in VSTS. And so it's a great experience. It's in the Visual Studio Marketplace. You absolutely can download that. We'll talk about that as well. All right, enough talking for me. Let's go back. I'm going to switch my screen one more time and go back to my desktop. Voila. And I am going to show you this last thing before I take your questions and we get out of here, because we only have about 5 minutes left. And hopefully you have a good idea about what the TechBytes show is, because this is our introductory show, just to get you up and running, because we're going to be off to the races in the next one. So the last thing I'll show you here, that since I just finished talking about what we need to install and things of that nature, is I want to really show you what it looks like when you have this toolkit installed. Let me kill this, just running in the background. All right, now that that's killed, let me go back here. This is the AWS Explorer. You can see that, let's say I'm not doing anything with chatbots, even though we are, but let's say we're not. And I just want to know, I don't know, what's going on with my, I don't know, pick one. Let's see. I want to know what's going on with my Lambda functions. And immediately, without leaving my IDE, I can look immediately and see my Lambda functions. Yes, I have a lot of Lambda functions. Serverless is my friend. And so you can immediately go and see your Lambda functions, alter them right now, see them running, have some level of monitoring of what your Lambda function is doing right in your own IDE. All right. I am now going to stop talking, and it is all about you guys right now. Nikki is moderating on the ASP live channel. But if you have any questions for me or suggestions, please let me know. I want to make sure this show is, as we're building along, like I said, I'll publish all the code and even export out as I can for instance, when we do the console for the Lex chat, I'll export out what the CloudFormation template will look like for you guys to do it, just in case you don't want to do it on the console. I'll also post what the CLI will be. But you tell me what else that we can do for the chatbot to enhance it. We talked about, like I said, we're going to do response cards. We're going to do voice. We're going to do CI/CD pipeline. We're going to do Dynamo. We're going to add some more Lambda functions. You may have something out there that I've left out. I want you to tell me. Tech Geek 42, I'm excited to get started too. This is going to be so fun because, again, this show is, we're going to build together, and I think that's what's really fantastic about this. You guys can tell me when I forgot that semicolon and why it wasn't building. You know I'm going to do it. So I'm excited too. It says, do you guys work on the AWS team at Amazon? Yes, the guys who are answering questions. So Nikki, who I did not introduce, sorry Nikki, works for the EC2 product team. She is a senior PM on the EC2 product team. She is also all about making sure you guys who want to develop in .NET and on EC2, or really anything on EC2, she's your girl, but she is a fan of .NET and Windows as well. So we, again, over here are language agnostic. We love all the languages. So yes, she can help you out, and she's been moderating today. So yes, she works for the AWS team at Amazon. We all are AWS employees. Any more questions for you guys? We have 1 minute left, just 1 minute for me to spend time with you. So any other questions that you want, shoot away. And don't worry, if you don't have a question right now, it's totally okay. Great. We're going to be talking hopefully every Wednesday at 10:30. Well, 10:30 Pacific time for you Eastern Standard people like me. I'm in Atlanta. We'll be talking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then for you guys overseas, we're going to be here, and it's recorded. If it's a little too early or too late for you, no worries. But I'm looking for your feedback. And again, we'll make sure after the stream you have the GitHub link that we're going to post to. And we're going to be ready to go the next show. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. And that's it for me. I'll hang out a little bit and take your questions. And I'm ready to go. All right. Any more questions out there? Any tips what I should be learning? Well, you know, a smooth cow, if you are passionate about AWS, I look forward to the series too. Thank you. Smooth Cal, if you are interested in AWS and getting started, what I always tell people, we have a great learning path series out there. Nikki has been on some, a bunch of other ones have been on there. If you really want to get started with AWS, we have a learning path series on there. I'll quickly, because I know we're totally out of time, but I'll quickly switch my screen and just show you the, let me go transition really quickly. There we go. I'll show you where you can go. We have a learning path. So if you go to our main AWS page here, let this bring come up for a minute. We have a learning path here. I'll just, because I don't have it saved, I'll just search, and you guys can search as well. But if you go there, you'll see that we have training and learning paths, and you can see the different training and learning paths. We have a developer learning path. We have AWS training and certification, but we have all these learning paths, and they're quick videos to get you up and running with AWS. So if you are just, hey, I just want to figure out what this whole thing is and get up and running, no worries. We have this for you to be able to go out and do that. All right, I'm 1 minute over time. I don't want the powers to be to get angry with me. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to code next series or next episode with you guys. We're going to build something cool. All right, have a great one and look forward to coding with you. Thanks, guys.